I remember last year we did conflict after story plot, but I think this year we wanted to switch it because we really wanted to emphasize the big picture of conflict, problem, the story, the different types, so they could have, you know, a better understanding of how that affects story plot.
Right. In 5th grade, they have a basic understanding. They know what a conflict is, but they've never heard the terms internal, external. They don't know man versus man or any of those different types of conflict. So we're going to have to do some basic, just kind of teaching of those concepts to start out on Monday. To me, like, our ultimate goal is that they're going to be able to find conflict within their own text and recognize that in their characters and see how it affects the plot. Okay, so let's start Monday.
So, Monday, well, our standards are identify and explain internal and external conflict in the development of a story. In 5th grade, I think it was just conflict.
Right.
So we're really focusing on internal, external,
and how it affects the plot.
And all those different types.
Well, we had that PowerPoint where we had guided notes last year, and I think as just kind of a little, almost like an exit ticket, we did the conflict maze. We did the little guided notes. They practiced with the conflict maze, that we didn't take it for a grade. It was just a quick check to see how they did.
Yeah, that was fun. So here's our character conflict maze, and again, this is something we can easily put in those dry erase boards with an expo marker, but we'll start them off here and we'll kind of look at the picture. Okay, does this car stuck in a snowstorm, does that show man versus nature, or does that show man versus character? And hopefully the kids would understand, well, it's a car and the problem is it's stuck in snow, so then it would be man versus nature, which leads us to this one. And this one is obviously 2 students fighting, or 2 brothers fighting. So looking at our notes for reference, we would hopefully see that this is man versus man, character versus character, which would lead into this one.
We can do partner to begin, just to make sure they get the gist. I know one thing we've been doing with partner task cards is we're going to check them since it's their first practice. Let's check them. If they get anything wrong, they have to go back to fix until they get them right. Kids that get them right can go ahead and move on.
Okay, and then that gives us the opportunity to reteach on those task cards.
And this would probably be a good chance, since they're doing individual, to do one of our higher level questions to kind of throw that in that day too. And just to see where we are, since they've had some practice.
Okay, Thursday, we haven't really used any media yet, but we did Lorax with characterization. They really liked looking at that type of example. So I know Wing Clips has clips of movies categorized by theme and like by different types of conflict, so I bet I could find some that show nature versus
Here's where we get to our ultimate goal of journal response, going to their own text, identifying it, and this is where we want to throw in our high level question as far as what they notice about how conflict affects the plot, because that goes right back to our standard.
So do we want to talk about our board questions for the day, as far as like what we want them to talk about before we start? Okay, so Monday was background knowledge. We wanted to know, what do they already know about conflict? So we can just have them think about it for a minute and then chit chat with the face partner, with the shoulder partner.
Okay.
So we just want to touch base on our engagement. I think we got a lot of good ones.
Because we have, you know, the guided notes, we have the maze, we have partner, we have individual, we have the media clips, which that'll be more cooperative as well, and then we have the whiteboard to review, so we have a good variety. At one of our student outcomes here, and this is where they had to go back to their book and come up with actual text evidence where they had to quote from the book, identify whether it was internal or external conflict, and also the type of conflict within that. And so, you know, she was reading Mark of Athena. She actually used great text evidence here, quoted, she's questioning, what if this was a bad idea? What if the Romans panicked? And then she explains, this is an internal conflict because it's a problem inside the character's head. It is man versus self because Annabeth is worried about their plane and struggling with the idea of the plane going wrong.
Man, she's got it.
Perfect. And then her external conflict, because we made them do one internal, one external. And she says, I am slapping your face for asking a stupid question. You ridiculous boy. Do you feel that? And she says it's external. It takes place outside of the character, which I noticed a lot of mine, some of them, they would go straight to the character, but they didn't talk about external being outside of their head. It's character because Leo and Terminus are arguing and messing with each other. So I thought that was great.
I think, you know, we had the exact same setup as far as the requirements we wanted our kids to do, and this is exactly what I saw from my kids too. They had excellent text evidence. They had excellent identification of internal and external, and then they went on to show their thinking and explain why. I feel good about it.
Sounds great.
Go team!